In the last lecture, we stopped in here that shows the block diagram for the air resource management system. Now we're going to start from here. Solid waste management system. So the overall objective of solid waste management system is to minimize the adverse effect of the waste that we generate that may causes or due to the indiscriminate or people can throw anywhere, things like that. To assess the management possibilities, it is important to consider so material flow in the society, how the material flows in the society day to day. Reduction in raw material, how we can reduce it and how we can reduce the quantities that we generate. Reuse, a lot of reuse, recovery and energy recovery. And the other one is day-to-day solid waste management. These are the few things we have to consider. Okay, so here is the simplified block that shows the management system. We generate the waste, goes to the storage, right? Even in the in-house and other things, we keep it in a tank, solid tank, right? Waste management tank, or the bins, right? Whatever we call it. Then it go collection system comes one a week. They collect and send it to here, can take it here or take it directly to the disposal. That means landfill. This could be considered as a landfill, right? Or from transport station to go here or from here to here, then come back here, then from here. So these are the process that happens every day, right? So now the environmental legislation and regulation for this waste and other things like that. How acts, laws, regulations are developed. Basically, a proposal for a new law called bill introduced into this either Senate or the House. The bill is given a name, say for example, Safe Drinking Water Act (SDWA), implies an act of Congress, right? The act is listed under one of the several titles. For example, it could be Clean Air Act Amendment CAA establishes a list of hazardous air pollutants. Then a bill passed in Senate or House goes to the President for approval or veto. If the bill is signed by the President, then becomes a law or statute, right? The bill is designated as PL 99-339 means 339th Congress law passed by the 99th Congress. This is the Congress number, this is the law number. Based on the law and statute, regulations or rules are developed by a regulatory agency, for example, US EPA for federal government. So in this case, an act or the statute may be a couple of pages, but the regulation could be 500,000 pages and 500 to 1,000 pages of long. Mainly, it explains how it develops. So here is the regulation. Legal mechanism that established standards or impose requirements as mandated by the Act. It also translates the general mandate of a law or statute into a set of requirements for the agency and the regulated community. So that's the main purpose of the regulations. Okay, some other definitions. Guidance. Guidance is how to. It provides direction for implementing, complying with the regulations. Policy, should do. Statements that outline a position on a topic or a given or give instructions of how a procedure should be conducted. And CFR, Code of Federal Regulations. For example, 40 CFR 280 means Title 40 Part 280. So that's how they read it. So we'll mention those several times in different places. So here is the impacts of acts, laws, and regulations. All acts, laws, regulations are developed based on the concept of protecting human health and environment. We have seen that before, right? That's one of the broader objective was there. If there were no enforceable acts, laws, and regulations, water, soil, and air, ecosystem, or environment would be highly polluted due to natural and anthropogenic activities, which would make the universe unlivable for human beings, animals, and aquatic lives. So this would be kind of implications for not having laws, regulations, and acts. Okay, the next one is environmental legislation and regulation. That could be divided into 4 categories. It could be water quality management, air quality management, solid waste management, and hazardous waste management. So, air quality management, drinking water and water pollution control, because there are 2 different things. So, drinking water came 1974. They came up with Safe Drinking Water Act. Okay, some cases they call it National Safe Drinking Water Act. So that means it's where the standards for public water system, and public water system will define more into the second topic, serving 25 or more people or at least 15 service connections. Okay, so that's a PWS, Public Water System, defined. 1975, EPA established the interim drinking water regulations. Then 1980 added a provision for prohibited underground injection waste without permit because they had to have it. They have it before. 86, basically major modification added with the basis of Safe Drinking Water Act amendments. 96, amendment to strengthen and expand the production of drinking water by providing grants for compliance and enforcement and so on. 1948, the principal responsibility, so water pollution. So this is water pollution control. Then prior to 1948, the principal responsibility for controlling water pollution was assumed by states, by various local and regional agencies. 1850 looks like. So the first institution created a deal with water pollution. Okay, 1912, the Public Health Service Act, federal government began to control water pollution. So these are the one. So things, I think this would be 1848. So this is 1848, sorry. Federal laws controlling water pollution. Here are the ones. 1948 Water Pollution Control Act. 1950 Federal Water Pollution Control Act. 1965 Water Quality Act. 1972 Federal Water Pollution Control Act Amendment. That means this is the one that is an amendment. 77 Clean Water Act, CWA. 1981 Municipal Waste Treatment Construction Grants Amendment. So EPA's priority pollutant list, table 1.6, page 21, main text. So that means this is the 193 they published into here. Air quality management, federal laws controlling air pollution, started in 1955. Air Pollution Control Act, Motor Vehicle Exhaust Act, 63 Clean Water Act. Clean Water Act, they had a three-stage action. So request for corrective action, warning letter, and the notice of violation enforcement process. Three-stage enforcement process. 1965 Motor Vehicle Air Pollution Control Act. Then 1967 Air Quality Act, 1970 Clean Air Act amendments, and 1977 Clean Air Act amendment. They did another amendments. So National Emission Standard for Hazardous Air Pollutant, NAPS, NESHAPS is one of the part of it. Okay, so in this case, the 1980 Acid Precipitation Act, 86 Radon Gas and Indoor Air Quality Research Act, 1990 Clean Air Act Amendment. So this is HAPS table 1.8. There is a list in there, main text. So this is in the 4th edition. I don't know. It could be similar pages in the 5th edition. Solid waste management. Before 1965, we didn't have any solid waste management regulations or anything like that. So in 1965, they started with SWDA, Title II of Public Law 89-272. That means 89 Congress, Law number 272, enacted by Congress. The intent was to promote the demonstration, construction, application of solid waste management resource recovery system, provide technical and financial assistance in the planning and development of resource recovery system, promote national research and development program, provide for the implementation of guidelines for solid waste collection, transport, separation, recovery, and disposal, provide training, grants in occupations involved in the design, operation, maintenance of solid waste disposal system. Could be landfill and some other part of it. 1970 Solid Waste Disposal Act amended by Public Law 95-512, the Resource Recovery Act. Congress mandated the Secretary of Health, Education and Welfare to prepare a report on the treatment of disposal of hazardous waste. So 1976, they came up with the Resource Conservation and Energy Recovery Act, RCRA. Okay, 76, they came up with TSCA, Toxic Substance Control Act, that required disclosure of information about toxicity, new materials before they enter into the manufacturer. Then 1980, Congress enacted the Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation and Liability Act, is CERCLA, commonly known as Superfund. In brief, CERCLA is Superfund. Okay. So 5 major elements in the federal approach to hazardous waste management. One is federal classification of hazardous waste. We'll see those, how to classify in the topic 8. Then the cradle to grave manifest, record keeping system. Again, we'll see all of those in there. Federal standards for safeguard to be followed by the generators, transporters, facilities that treat, store, and dispose the hazardous waste. Enforcement of federal standards for facilities through a permit program, authorization of state programs to operate in lieu of the federal program. So in this case, it came to the federal, federal government funded those, but came to the state government to manage it, basically, to manage it. These are the 5 major elements. Okay, 1984 they did a amendment like hazardous and solid waste amendment. Under this amendment, waste minimization was established as a preferred method. Okay, and untreated hazardous waste was banned from land disposal, and EPA was directed to establish treatment standards for land disposal. New technology standards such as double liners for hazardous waste and other things, leachate collection system, and extensive groundwater monitoring were established for land disposal facilities. So, okay. So new requirements were established for small quantity generators for hazardous waste. EPA was directed to establish standard for underground storage tank. EPA was directed to evaluate criteria for municipal solid waste landfills and underground monitoring requirements. So these are the provision they had. Then 1986 Superfund Amendment Reauthorization Act came out to be SARA, extended the provision of CERCLA. SARA established that EPA revise the National Priority List, NPL, and the hazard ranking system. This is the system by which we can rank the system, hazard system. Revise the National Contingency Plan, is NCP, is authorized to subpoena documents and the witness also. These are the one came from 1986, part of it. Okay, so SARA established that it can spend money to investigate, cite, and design remedies, has broad enforcement authority. It should be broad, not board. Enforcement authority to require private parties to undertake cleanup, must impose the more stringent federal standards. Many may use mixed funding, that is both from federal and private, develop administrative record of decision, ROD. So these are the one mainly the regulations. So now we'll see the environmental ethics. Environmental ethics is defined as a philosophical concept dealing with normal conduct, a set of standards establishing right and wrong actions, rules that describe someone's duty to society and to someone's fellow professionals, guidelines that help someone to make decisions. So these are the ethics, definition of ethics, right? An environmental code of ethics use knowledge, skills, and enhancement and protection of the environment, hold paramount health, safety, and welfare of the environment. Yeah. So this is a little bit different than the civil engineers or just engineers. Perform service only in the areas of personal expertise. Yes. Be honest. Okay. So be honest, impartial, and serving the public, your employers, your clients, and the environment. Issue public statements only in an objective and truthful manner, right? So we have seen that before. Okay, importance of lifelong learning. As we have seen, the environmental regulations and as well as the current technologies are important and necessary for environmental projects. Since the regulations technology are updated frequently to keep up with the social needs, keeping up with the regulations and technologies are necessary for engineers. So learning regulations, technologies as they are updated are very important for engineers as long as they practice engineering. So that's the importance of lifelong learning. Okay, so we are going to stop here in this video.